going on, everybody? Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Viall Files Ask Nick edition. I am your host, Nick, joined in studio by Amanda. Where is Allie? Where did she go?
Allie had a very dramatic situation where there was...
Are we allowed to talk about it?
I think so. I don't know. She was not... The point is that there was some crime activity at her apartment, in the apartment next door to her. And on the phone, she was sort of saying that there was some kind of like shootout element, and she found a rubber bullet in her apartment, and she's just very confused as to what's happening.
She found a rubber bullet in her apartment?
Yeah, because I think she thinks that the police were potentially using her like out. She has like a little backyard, like sort of courtyard area in the complex. And she thinks they were using that as their like positioning point for this standoff that they were in with a man who I guess had broken into a different apartment or maybe lived there, but was unstable and also set the place on fire eventually. It was like, honestly, getting Allie's text, and I know it's true, but it kind of sounded like if someone had piled like 27 valid excuses to miss work into like one paragraph.
There's no way he's not going to believe this.
Yeah. She was like, I just want you to know how hardcore I am and that it would.
She's gotten herself in some predicaments. How are you?
I'm well.
Are you in love with your new girlfriend?
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one because I think on one hand, I kind of feel like my mind feels made up in the sense of like, oh, if there was anyone I was going to pursue a romantic relationship with, like easily her. Like she's so wonderful. But then there's, I don't know, some of the people I've been seeing for a little while and I like to see them and I'm like, I don't know if I should, it's that weird, like what do we owe people? We're in situationships, not even like situationships, like just that we're like kind of in contact with, like, how do we manage sort of like our own timelines with, you know what I mean? Because everybody's on their own timeline.
Eventually you just kind of have to pick a movie you want to watch on Netflix. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Is it shitty to see other people though? Even if you're like, okay, I know I'm going to watch this movie, but I'm still going to watch an episode of The Office.
I think a better analogy would be like, you're just watching a bunch of previews on Netflix.
Yeah.
But ultimately your goal is to watch a movie.
I think it's just, I feel like, I don't know. I think the thing that like gives me pause is that there is just like one of the people who I'm seeing, like we've been very broken, like guy, we've been very communicative.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah. So it's like, so I don't know what to do in terms of like, and like I am in nobody, I'm not exclusive with anyone. Like there's nothing like shady going on. Like I am no way sort of like implied exclusivity, but I'm like, I don't know it's like, not just how do I not break rules, but how do I be like as kind to everybody as possible?
What I've learned in this world, it's something I was very guilty of and was guilty of for most of my 30s. And I think we're as a society becoming more and more guilty of it, is like we're learning all about like boundaries and like qualifying people. And I obviously preach shit like that all the time. And I'm all for having high expectations. But like at some point you just have to fucking pick one and date and see how it goes, because you're only going to get so much information doing what you're doing with any of them. Like you can only watch, again, using the analogy of like the Netflix preview, you're watching all these previews and you're like, this is a pretty good preview. I mean, I don't know. It seems like I think I would like watching this movie, but you know what? I don't know. This is another preview. Seems like I like watching this movie. You're entertaining yourself. I actually used to love doing that. Like back in the day, like I used to like watching previews. I was like, the movies. Like I'd love to go.
Exciting.
What's out next?
Yeah.
Like, I would be mad if I'd go to a movie and like miss the previews. Like
totally such a fundamental part of the movie going experience.
Yeah. And now we're looking for the perfect preview. And like, again, with Netflix, you're having, back in the day, if like Shawshank Redemption was on TV, you just watch it. But now you'd never watch Shawshank Redemption on Netflix because you're like, well, there's like a billion options. You just don't know what to pick. And at some point we have to like date, knowing that we can always break up, but you're going to find a lot more about either of them by focusing all your energy on that one person. Like start the movie knowing that like 30 minutes in, you be like, they didn't pull me in. First opening act 1, not great. Didn't keep me entertained. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to try something else. And I think we spent a lot of time just like watching previews, looking for the perfect preview And we're never going to find the perfect preview.
I think that's totally fair. And I think you're right that I'm only going to get a certain amount of information out of this stage. Like it's inherently very limiting. I think the thing that I'm trying to like toy through in the moment is like with like, you know, the girl I'm seeing who I like, you know, feel very positive about. Like she recommended a car wash, and then I realized I was driving by her house, so I called her and I was like, "Hi, I'm outside your house and I'm on the way to the car wash. Like, any chance you want to join?" Just because like she was going on a weekend trip and we weren't going to get to see each other, and so we just went to the car wash together and we had so much fucking fun, even though it's like literally the lamest date in the whole wide world. So it's like on one hand, I'm like everything from this stage has been very positive. But but we've still known each other less than 2 weeks. And I think for me, if I want to have a partner right now, it's like, I really want them to be like, I have got some trust issues. And like some of the working through is going to be me on my own time, but some of it is picking someone who's like rock solid. And so I feel like I'm still assessing for like consistency. And so because I want to kind of take my time and see how even outside of a relationship, like how she sort of like continues to navigate the dating phase, I'm like, okay, well, I want more time to kind of like see how things go, see if behavior changes. So then during that time, is it messed up for me to be seeing other people?
I wouldn't say it's messed up, but I think a lot of mistake people make is that we expect this reciprocity before we like give ourselves boundaries. Like there's nothing stopping you from saying, I'm going to focus on her or broken leg guy, whichever one. And even if I don't expect the same commitment from them, because I think it's too early, say, to define the relationship, but like I want to focus my attention on her because I want to pay attention to what she says. I recognize we still have a lot to get to know each other, and I'm not going to like allow myself to just fall in love just because I've decided to do this, right? But like you set boundaries for yourself, focus a little bit more, and then maybe you're right because 2 weeks is a little early. But like you could be like, I'm just going to enjoy liking her or enjoy liking him. Or just enjoy liking someone and enjoy being excited about someone. And it's a balance, right? Because it's hard to do that and not get like, caught up and fall.
Yeah, and like idealize and create this version of them in your brain that is not the actual person you're going on dates with.
But you're paying attention to what they say. And you're paying attention to, you know, and you take the good with the bad. In this world of serial dating and dating apps, we're counting on our rosters to slow us down.
When we need to like look at ourselves and be like, hey, slow down.
Slow down and get to know someone.
Yeah.
We have a great episode for you. Don't forget to send in your questions at asknick@castme.com, cast with a K, for our Ask Nick episodes. Always appreciate you guys sharing this podcast with your friends. Tell your friends, if you have any friends struggling with relationships, insist that they listen to this podcast. Obviously, we have our Bachelor Recap out on Tuesdays. Can't thank you enough for telling your friends about our podcast, sharing it on your social. We try to reshare it when you can. And if there's nothing else, let's get to our callers.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
How's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. How old are you?
26.
How can I help?
Okay, so I'm going to start off with the question and then give you a little bit of a background.
Okay.
The question is, how do I make a first date not feel griefy? And a bit of background is that my dad died last year, and the month prior, my uncle did. And the reason it comes up on dates is because I get asked what I do. And what I do is help manage my dad's store and the business and the properties. And then it turns into the conversation of like, oh, well, how'd you get into that? And that's not really something that I'm doing. I'm in nursing school, obviously.
Sure. So what do you manage? Your dad's what?
Just the business and properties.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So how does that translate into a first date? How do I bring that up? What do I do? And the reason that my uncle also gets brought up is because my uncle used to work for my dad, and it's like, it ends up making the air really weird. Mm-hmm. Either the other person feels like they have to like trauma dump to compensate and be like bonding through that way, which isn't healthy. Or like there's like this kind of like sad look in their eyes, or they get uncomfortable. And like, mind you, everyone's been really great. Like, I don't think I've had any like bad reaction where anyone's been or anyone's made me feel weird, but it's just not helpful in dating, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, I get it in the sense that I can imagine that it's challenging. I fortunately can't empathize. Let me ask you this, like, well, how are you doing with the passing of your father and your uncle?
I'm okay.
But not
there are
there
good
yet.
days and bad days.
Yeah, okay. So you're still dealing with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It happened.
Well, the reason why I ask is, and I can only imagine that it would be normal, is that my guess is, you're still dealing with it. So it's in your head. You're self-conscious about it. Maybe you're projecting a little bit, and giving your situation in terms of like what you do, like we could sit there and like role play and try to figure out like questions to avoid like them asking you, what do you do? And like, sure, we could try that. Right. But I think big picture wise, I think you just have to, give yourself some grace and just keep working through the loss that you experienced. Right. Because I'm imagining like being on a first date with someone who like yourself and you're like, what do you do? And you're like, oh, I work manages properties. Like, oh, that's really cool. Like, how'd you get into it? And you're like, oh, well, my dad passed away. And then I'd be like, oh, well, like, I'm really, and people would say something like awkward or like, like, I'm really sorry. Like, how'd that happen? Et cetera, et cetera. And there is no way, at least right now for you, to avoid that, like, what'd you call it? Grieviness?
Like that griefy like air in a date.
Air. Yeah. It's not ideal. I get it, right? We want our first dates to be lighthearted and, fun and whatever. But, I'm someone, as I'm sure you probably know listening to this podcast, like, we just got to try to take advantage of the situations that we are in. Did you know that even an okay credit score can cost you $100,000 over the life of a 30-year home loan? That's a lot of money. Well, it's true. And that's why you should use ScoreMaster before you apply for any loan. ScoreMaster can take your credit score from okay to great fast. The average user adds 61 points in 20 days or less. And you ask yourself, why? How can they do that? Well, because listen, your credit score is a fickle thing. And sometimes like paying off a credit card or closing a credit card or maybe even opening a credit card or paying down a student loan by a certain amount will up your score just like that. And so it kind of helps you kind of massage your score and give you the right information to do that. And the thing is, credit rates have never been lower, but those rates will go up soon. So before you apply, visit scoremaster.com and add points to your credit score fast. Then you can maintain and protect your credit score with 24/7 credit monitoring and $1 million fraud insurance. It only takes minutes to enroll, see your points, get more points, and qualify for the lowest loan rates. Visit scoremaster.com/VIALL. That is scoremaster.com/VIALL to get started today. Ladies, let's talk about your legs and shaving them. Is that weird? Is that okay for me to say? Listen, I got a girlfriend. I understand the burden, the cumbersome that is to shave thy legs. Not a fun thing.
No.
No. That's right. But Athena Club's razors are here to help ease the pain and make life a little bit easier for you. The Athena Club razor is designed with built-in skin guards to help prevent razor burn while being gentle on curves.
I realized when I was like 14, I was in the shower and the only razor there was my dad's. And I was like, what the hell? Women get bad razors usually. And so that's why like with Athena Club, it rocks because it's not like a terrible janky razor that doesn't work. It's like the good stuff that they usually say for the men.
Yeah, with Athena Club, the only problem you're going to have is your man stealing your razor. The razor blade is surrounded by a water-activated serum with shea butter and hyaluronic acid.
Hyaluronic acid. That's in all the good serums now.
Which is the holy grail for skincare. The best part of the razor kit is it's only $9 and comes with 2 blade heads, a magnetic hook for shower storage, and the razor has 6 color options. But they also have black and white razors, which I've never seen before from other brands. Concur?
Yeah, I've never in my life seen an all white razor.
How's their shave phone?
Oh my God, top notch.
Top.
absolutely top notch because it's like it's really silky, but you can still cut through it with the razor. So top notch.
Also stole that from Natalie. Show your skin you care with the Athena Club Razor Kit. Sign up today and you'll get 20% off your first order. Just go to athenaclub.com and use promo code VIALL. That is ATHENACLUB.com with promo code VIALL for 20% off. We are going through different stages in our lives. All of us, we have our good moments, we have our good years, we have our bad years. We have times of, feeling down, feeling up, et cetera, et cetera. And right now you're kind of in this period of obviously grieving the loss of your father and your uncle. And so you might not be able to completely avoid that. And quite honestly, I feel like us role playing and being like, let's figure out a way to try to avoid this conversation would be an additional stress that you shouldn't be thinking about on your date. So what can you do? Like what you can do is see if someone like helps you through this in a way others don't, like you mentioned, like, you just have to trust your gut in a sense that there are going to be, at least if you're open to it, there are going to be men who approach this differently or handle it differently. And there might be a guy or two that for whatever reason handles that conversation like in a really nice way, And if they don't, maybe that's a sign for you to be like, I don't know, like not my guy. And if you listen to the show, we know that regardless of what you're going through right now, most of the guys you're going to go on dates with aren't going to be your guy, right? And usually when we are forced to have, deeper conversations or more intense conversations early on, we're peeling back layers that we sometimes don't get to peel back until date 3 or 4, right? Most of the time we'd be like, oh, well, it's the first date. Don't bring that up. You don't have to get heavy, all these things. And as a result, sometimes we don't get to learn as much as we like to, which is okay because sometimes we just want to see if we can have fun with someone, see if there's some chemistry. So just take the good with the bad. The opportunity you have for here is without forcing it, you're going to have slightly deeper conversations early on for a period of time, right? And as a result, you might learn more about someone on a first date than you otherwise would if it was like, let's go bowling and not talk about, deep shit, right? Mm. So I think I'm just trying to like change your perspective on not stressing yourself out and not like taking it too hard on yourself. Be like, I wish I didn't have to talk about this every time, which I get sucks, right?
Yeah.
But it is an opportunity for you to like learn, like you're 26, you said? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're an adult woman. I'm assuming like having a guy who can show empathy, can show consideration and passion, can have difficult conversations. I'm guessing those are like qualities you're looking for in a guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So maybe this is an opportunity to see who handles it. Like this is your world right now. You can't avoid it, and I'm sorry you're dealing with that. And you're going to continue to grieve the loss of your father and your uncle, and it will continue to get better. And I think you stressing yourself out about this is only going to make it worse. Like, because you can't avoid it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
You can't go on a first date and be like, oh, well, here we go. Like, as soon as they're like, what do you do for a living? You're just like, I fucking know where this is going to go. And your
Bring me a shot.
Yeah. And so I'm saying your energy is changing even more than theirs, right? You might be showing like, your anxiety and your stress. And this is those all play a part in the conversations that you have, so don't feel like you have to apologize, like, and I don't, not that you would, but you're always like, well, okay, here we go. Like, I know you didn't plan on having this conversation on the first date. Like, don't say things like that. People will have this way of being like whether either directly apologizing or like passively, like, like I said, I bet you didn't expect this, or like, what do you think? Like life happens to all of us. right? And this is what you're going through, and the right person is going to listen to your story and say the right things that makes you feel safer or more comfortable, might make you feel like you could even open up to a little bit more, won't feel the need to make it about them and trauma bond or dump on them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you might just leave and go, you know what, that went better than I thought. I had a nice time, you know? Because no one like, no normal person is going to hear this story and look at you and go, oh, well, I can't date her. You know, like, I don't know if it's, I've never, and I've gone on dates with people who have been like, yeah, my father passed. Like, I've never had a thought of being like, oh, well, red flag, you know, like, how could anyone do that? Like, unfortunately, people die. We are all going to die, right? And so, and I don't know what's going on in your head in terms of, you know, what you're thinking or you're projecting or wondering what people are thinking. But like, if someone were to think that, like, oh my God, like, then date's over. Like, you don't want them. Don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're so worried about someone like not liking you, but like, you wouldn't want them.
Yeah. I think it's the trauma bonding more so than anything else that gets to me, because I don't need you to tell me everything the first day. And I feel like that opens up that door. And
well, how many times does that happen? Does that really happen? Or are you worried about it happening?
No, it happens a lot. It
like,
happens a lot.
Give me an example.
What was the last date I went on? It was like last week or so. Dude was totally normal, totally great. And then I just mentioned the thing, like, just like, you know, like, so this is what I do and this is what's going on. And then he was like, oh yeah, like, I had a complicated relationship with my dad, and then I don't really talk to him anymore. And, you know, like, my mom and him separated, and he drank a lot and he used to hit me. And I was like, wait.
Okay.
Like, hold on.
So what did you think about that? Like, forgetting about the fact that you felt like he was just trying to match your story or trauma bond or whatever, like, you certainly got more information about this guy.
Yeah. And it happens a lot, like, in general, just like in the profession that I've chosen, like, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Right. But in my personal relationships, like, I feel like that takes the attachment from the other person too far. Whereas I'm still on, this is the first date. I'm trying to figure out whether or not I like you. And I have to go home and sit with how I feel after being away from you and just see how that went and process how I feel. So after like something like that, when the other person ends up sharing a lot, I don't mind it at all. Like, if that's your release, that's totally fine. But then it ends up taking things further, quicker for them. Whereas I'm still like, this was just a first date. Let me figure out how I'm feeling after this. Even if it's like a second date, like, I still have to kind of sit with it, you know?
Yeah. But I guess I still go back to my original point that, you know, in that example that you gave, like, how did you see him in that moment?
I guess human.
But
human is trying to make me feel better.
But there's no wrong answer. Like, how did that change how you felt about him? I don't mean, I'm not coming from an empathizing, like, but like as a potential dating partner where you like, you know, this guy is like, I have like dad issues. Like, you know, I don't know the relationship.
It didn't change anything.
Okay.
It didn't change anything. No, I mean, I was still interested, but then I hesitate with that a little bit. Like, I'll see him this weekend. Like, we're going on a second date. It's fine. But like, then I hesitate a little bit where like, you're texting a little bit more, you're calling a little bit more. Like, if I'm in school or if I'm studying, like, I still have to do these things, you know?
Yeah, but I don't think the fact that you shared a story about your dad passing away made him think that you liked him more than you do. Hey, I got a question for all you peeps out there. Are your thoughts running in endless circles in your mind? I know they are for me. Amanda, also?
Constantly. A damn marathon. They're always
Just
running.
A marathon of thoughts. Well, you know, it's not always good to overthink. You need to do something with those thoughts, and Headspace is here to help. That's right, Headspace. Headspace is a convenient dose of meditation, mindfulness, and sleep exercises to relieve stress and anxiety and help you get a good night's sleep all in one app. Make it easy to catch your breath and make time for your mental health. It also has other helpful classes or segments in their app. I don't know what you want to call them, but like maybe to start your day, helps calm those kiddos down. Let's get everyone together and meditate. Anyways, meditating is the key, is a great key to helping your mental health and your emotional stress and just kind of getting back to neutral and just, focus on yourself. And Headspace is helping you do that. And it's one of those most science-backed meditation apps in the world. A study proves in just 2 weeks, Headspace can reduce your stress by 14%. Who couldn't use 14% less stress in their life? I would say it's reduced stress in my life by 27%, but that's just for me. I can't speak for everyone. They 14, me 27. I don't know. I'm just saying. Find some Headspace at headspace.com/VIALL and get 1 month free of 14% less stress. And again, me 27. Of their entire meditation library, of which there is so much to choose from. This is the best Headspace offer available. So go to headspace.com/VIALL today. Headspace.com/VIALL. Like he could still be, it's what you're describing is this guy seems like he's a little more excited about you than you might be about him right now. And you're uncomfortable with that? That's what you seem to be describing.
Yeah. And I just don't want it to be because someone thinks that I need like saving or I need like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just projecting. I think I'm just projecting.
You might be a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, people, regardless if they've dealt with death or trauma or whatever, often can go on a first or second date and one person is more into the other person. And then you're just like, I don't know. Like he's texting a lot or she's texting all the time. Like that happens all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's kind of almost impossible for two people to be in the exact same wavelength early on. I mean, we might say it, but like, who knows?
Yeah. So I just kind of have to step out from under my own shadow here is what you're telling me.
A little bit, but also too is, again, appreciate that you're learning more about these people. And it might say, oh, I don't love that about this person. Or maybe if it feels like they're, instead of listening to your story and simply saying, I'm sorry you went like that, like, obviously that must be challenging. I'm like, we can talk about it if you want. If not, like, I know we're just on a first date and not try to make it about them. Like,
yeah,
I wasn't there on this date, but it almost sounds like instead of just listening to you, he was just like, let me tell you about,
yeah,
me. And listen, it's a fine line. You're going to have to feel it out. But I think for you, the biggest thing is, yes, not try to project, not try to go in with like worried about this conversation happening. It's going to happen. And you just need to accept that and not apologize for it and realize that you're going to have this conversation on first dates more often than you would prefer. But either way, it's a conversation you're going to have. And how people handle that conversation could be a great way to learn more about these people you say you're trying to decide if you like. So use that opportunity to see how they communicate, see how they handle these things, and stuff like that. But I don't think this is the reason why he likes you more than you like him.
Okay.
Because that can happen a million different ways.
Okay.
It wasn't like he's like, you're like, my dad passed away. He's like, oh, well, I love you. So like, I'm here to save you. Like, I'm sure maybe like I don't know. But I think the average guy is not immediately like, oh, let me be your hero. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
I certainly haven't had that thought, it's kind of like, oh, that's a terrible thing. I'm sorry. You just,
Yeah,
so it would be a pretty arrogant
fair.
thing. And plenty of guys are pretty arrogant to think, well, I can make this all better. Her dad died. And if you get that energy from a guy, that's not the type of guy you want to like. That's a pretty big information that you don't need to spend more time with him. If you get a vibe that he's so arrogant that he can somehow help solve this problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not like a problem. That's the thing. When people start seeing it as a problem, that's a huge red flag for me. Because it's not. It's just life.
Yeah. You're just like, I'm sorry. That sucks.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I think the way you deliver it, like I'm trying to imagine if you told me the story, I'd just be like, oh, I'm sorry. Now again, if they have like I don't have this like baggage, like baggage. Like this guy kind of unloaded his family stuff, and and again, like that's stuff you probably want to know. Like
Yeah.
how does he
That's
handle
true.
that? Because some people wait
that's
6 months
true.
to find out they have like some shit they need to work on, and like you described someone who might like want to look into therapy.
Oh yeah, no, we talked about that.
Okay, well, these, it sounds like you're on The Bachelor. Like, you talk about shit on a first date that wouldn't normally talk about. It's not the end of the world.
It's just you're confronting it head on quicker than you would down the road.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
worst thing you can do is be resistant to something you can't avoid, and make it a bigger deal than it needs to be, and project and make it weird or get defensive or apologetic or whatever. Just own it, I guess. I mean, it sounds almost weird, but like just
I kind of have to. It's okay.
yeah, and just give yourself grace to keep working through it, and it'll be fine. But
Okay.
yeah, there's no magic way to like figure out how to avoid the conversation.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, best of luck. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you. It was.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
I'm Bailey.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
All right. How can I help?
So I have a friend that I used to hang out with in college. And like back then it was strictly friends. And then I recently got out of a 3-year relationship. So I'm having fun. I'm being single. I'm not ready for a commitment whatsoever. And over the summer, me and this friend, decided to start hooking up. And this friend moved to Austin, Texas, and a couple states away. And then he was been texting me to like come visit him, like since the day he found out he had to move for work up until I booked my flight, which was like beginning of October. And right before I went to visit him, I went out on a date, and like because we are friends, like I just like gave him like that like heads up, like strictly friends, like no feelings whatsoever for him. And then he got pretty nasty and was like, "What, you can't wait a week?" And kind of like made those remarks. And then when I got to Austin, we hooked up like this, like the second we got to his place, and then we like went out with his friends. And he was like, "Oh, like I just got off, so if anyone wants a round with her, let me know." And I was like, "Okay, like
It's pretty gross.
not okay." Yeah, like just not okay. And I was like, "Okay, like I'm gonna like brush that off."
Why?
Because like we were just friends. I was like, okay, like yeah, I wasn't comfortable. I was gonna bring it up later, but like that to me was just like, I'm not gonna make a scene in front of everyone. Like I'd just rather like deal with it privately than publicly. And then the next night we went out with another group of his friends, and some of the friends left the bar. And then when we were there, he started making out with one of his friends, but I didn't know that till later on. So then we're like walking back to his place, and the friend that he made out with earlier, like is at the bar, like going back to his place with us. I'm like, okay, like this is kind of weird, but like she lives like the apartment, like building right next to him. So it's okay. Like she's just going to get like walking home with us. And when we got to his place, I went and changed like out of like my outfit into like comfier clothes. And I walk into the kitchen and they're making out. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I walked like back into the room. I was like, okay, like I don't know what to do. And then like they like called me back into the room, and then he texted me, "Hey, I'm gonna like make a move. Like, do you want to get out of here?" And I was like, yeah, okay. So like I decided to like go for a walk at like 2 a.m. in 40-degree weather.
Wait. He asked you to leave, basically?
Yes. Yeah. He texted me to leave. So like they
he could hook up.
Yeah. And then yeah, okay. An hour goes by and I get it wasn't even an hour. And then I get the you can come back text and I don't respond right away. And like he keeps like texting and calling me and I'm just like, I like need to figure out like my thoughts. Like this is like really weird. So then I get back and then he like drives her home and then he goes and showers and then he expects me to sleep in that bed that they just hooked up in, like not even like clean the sheets or anything. And then the next day he like keeps trying to hook up with me and I'm like, no, like I'm not into this. And then just because like I felt like really disrespected. And then right after that, he was like, oh, like I couldn't even finish because I was thinking about you. And I was like, that's like not okay. So like I have like 2 questions. Like, is this person like even worth like being friends? No.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Next question.
Like, how do I deal? Like, because it's a shot to the ego, and I feel like that's what I'm struggling with the most. And like,
yeah, what are you struggling with? Because like the answer seems so clear on this end.
Like, okay, so I struggle with like self-image and like all those things like that. To me, like just the way he was acting, like really reassures how like I feel about myself. So like, how do I like get myself out of that like thought process and like just be like, oh, like he's just a cruddy person.
Sure.
But like to me, like the way he was acting, like adds to like the way I like sometimes perceive myself.
Yeah, that makes sense. You have to try to separate the two, right? And it's just self-awareness, right? And you're there, like you recognize there's an ego thing, feeling disrespected, and regardless of your feelings towards him, when someone disrespects you, your ego's like, I should never be disrespected. And then when our egos feel disrespected, it has a way of trying to get validation from the person who disrespected us.
Okay.
Right. And so with that, we have a tendency of kind of compromising ourselves and our standards and, you know, morals for ourselves. But like we do things we would say, I would never do that, because our ego's like, yeah, but we need to get validated because we feel disrespected. There's this thing, I think men are more guilty than women when it comes to this. But when men feel disrespected, whether justified or not, when their egos are triggered, they have a way of wanting to punish the person who disrespected them. And to me, when you told the story of you tried to show him respect by letting him know you were just going to go on a date.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're adults. We're fuck buddies.
And like we don't even live in the same state.
Yeah. Well, that's neither here nor there. But did you tell him or did he ask?
I told him. He asked me what my plans were that weekend. And I was like,
and then you told him your plans.
Yeah.
Okay, so he asked. He asked.
Yeah,
you chose not to lie to your fuck buddy. You were like, we're two adults. We're not dating. You asked me a question. I'm going to be honest with you. Like whether he has feelings for you or not, you disrespected his ego. He's thinking, this chick's flying out to see me. I'm going to fuck, whatever. And she needs to go on a date with another dude. My dick's not good enough. Like that's how he's thinking. And his immaturity, and like I've heard stories about like old men doing this. Like, so it's not just an age thing, but it is a side of immature people and men. And I hear stories like this more where men are more guilty than women, but I'm sure. Yeah. So his response like that when you like how crude and disgusting for him to say, "Oh, I just had her. You want to go at her?" Like he wanted. That was a deliberate attempt at making you feel less than, because you did nothing wrong, but you telling him that you were going on a date made him feel less than.
So, and like even before I got there, so I flew out on a Friday, and like that Wednesday, he hooked up with someone and he was bragging about it to me. So then I like jokingly, like word for word, like, oh, you couldn't wait 2 days? Like, not even like, I was just like joking, like using like his own words against him.
Sure.
And I was like,
But
okay, like I.
Yeah,
like,
what we understand about this guy is he's not self-aware or mature, and just because you do something one way doesn't mean he's going to reciprocate. He is very reactive to his ego being triggered. He doesn't seem like he has like this kind of self-awareness that you seem to try to have, like where you catch yourself doing things and you're just like, Bailey, like, why am I doing this? Like, it doesn't sound like he's there yet. He sounds just very in his own needs and bullshit, right? Like, he probably thinks like, what's the big deal? I don't. And that lack of self-awareness is when you're like, oh, no, he's totally not worth your time.
Okay.
Like
even just like having like, because we're in the same friend group. Like, I don't know. Like
as you said,
like
he lives in a different city.
Mm-hmm.
Like how like friend group, what? Like how often do you need to see, like never go to Texas.
Yeah.
And if your friends still talk to him, like, okay, that's fine. Because like ultimately he disrespected you. He made you feel uncomfortable. He was fucking weird and creepy, but like, you're fine, right? Like you're okay.
Yeah.
So like you have no hard feelings. You just know that like continuing to engage with this guy, certainly sleeping with him, is just like bad news for you, and it's going to continue to make you feel like less than, and it's going to trigger your ego and make you vulnerable to do things that you know you don't want to do. So continuing to engage with him and hang out with him, you are aware that you will be a worse version of yourself, not a better version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of like the fact that you don't like them or whatever, or how good the sex is or not, like you don't want to hang out with anyone that's like, every time I'm hanging out with this person, I do shitty things. And at some point, you have to hold yourself accountable, but like you feel anxious, you feel like you're pining for validation, whatever it is. These are not qualities that you want to have, right? Like,
no.
So, yeah. And you just have to try to separate that. Like, like this feeling triggered and this need for validation does not mean you like him. You know what I'm saying? It does not mean anything other than like your ego is triggered.
Yeah. And like, so I ended up blocking him. Like the second I got to the airport, I was just like, I felt so gross.
Yeah.
And I like blocked him. Like, do you think that was too dramatic? Like,
no.
Because I like,
again,
I'm having a hard time.
My
like,
golden rule with blocking is if you're doing it for you, it's okay.
Okay.
If you're doing it for a reaction, then it's not okay. So reaction means you're doing it for them. If you're just doing it for your peace of mind, your mental health, you don't want to give them access. If you're doing it to remove someone's access to you, you don't need a justifiable reason. You don't need to explain it to anyone. They don't have to like it. That's fine. But if you're doing it for your mental health, block away. You don't have to explain it to anyone. But you should never do it to get a reaction. You should never block someone and wonder what they think about it.
Yeah, no, it was just like I needed like a cleanse of like get that weekend behind me and like figure out like my thoughts. Because like the second I got out of the car, like into the airport, he like kept texting me about like how much it meant to him that I like went out to visit him. And I was like, this doesn't add up with like your actions. Like, I'm just not going to even like involve myself more into this.
How old is this guy?
He's 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not, your examples you're giving are pretty crude and gross.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of growing up to do. He doesn't sound very self-aware. Is he a terrible guy? No, probably not, but it's not your job to let him know or fix him or get him to wake up and have him grow. So like, don't try to spend a lot of time being like, oh, it doesn't add up. Like, he is a very immature guy that when things don't go his way, nothing else matters than his immediate needs to feel validated and important. And once he feels validated and important, then he can go back to being like, oh, I had a nice time. Like, can I get you a cup of coffee? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why it doesn't add up, you know? His need to like have sex with that other girl was about validating himself. I could do this, you know?
Yeah.
And it's incredibly selfish and immature. So once he felt validated and good, he could start being the good guy, quote unquote, that he thinks he is.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So you're just feeding his ego, and like it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with me or anything I've done. It's just all on him at some.
He's
like,
completely
some degree.
unself-aware about how shitty he's been acting, and that's not an excuse. Like, and again, not your job to explain it to him. It's just a sign for you to run and block him and just avoid it. Yeah, and then like again, this is not your concern, but like if he has any decency in him, when he realizes you've blocked him, maybe he'll spend some time reflecting about how that weekend went and maybe realize I was a big piece of shit. That was gross. Like I wouldn't want like a girlfriend of mine or my daughter someday, you know, my girlfriend, I mean like any woman I cared about to like experience and be uncomfortable, and all based off of what? Because she went on a date? Yeah. And we're not...
And like I talked it over with one of my friends. Like I called him when I was like walking, and like he was like, no, like this just was not like a healthy situation. He's like, clearly like this guy, either he doesn't have sisters or he doesn't have friends, and he doesn't know how to treat others properly. So it was just not the weekend I was expecting either. So it just like threw me for a loop.
Yeah, he's not a good dude. I mean, and maybe he has some growing, you know, he has some, you know, good qualities, but he's got a lot of growing up to do. And
yeah, it's not a good situation.
Yeah, and so for you, it's just a good practice to, again, when we recognize like our egos being triggered, to like take a moment and say, well, why am I doing this? Why do I care? You know, when you care about things that you don't think you should care about, that's a good sign that your ego is being triggered, and your ego searching for validation for something, you know, big picture wise, you don't need.
Yeah. And it's like, I think it's easier said than done, but like I've really noticed like every single time now, like I'm going to like, that I have thought about it. I'm like, no, like this isn't because I'm into him or anything like that. It was just a shot to the ego, and you got to separate the two.
Yeah. And you know, a fuck buddy situation should be, you can still have a mutual respect and consideration. And if you're going to fly and meet up, like you can avoid doing that or hooking up and making out with other people. And that is not the same as going on a date with someone in your like hometown, because like you're interested in like in a relationship, and you're fine with if he went on a date, but like throwing it in your face and having sex with, like, I mean, God, just what a creep. Okay. You're good.
You.
I don't think you should ever talk to him again.
Yeah, I don't plan on it. It's weird because he also like tries to hit up my sister, and she's
warn her. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like that's also gross in itself. Yeah.
I mean, the only reason you should talk to him is if he hits up your sister. You should reach him and be like, don't ever fucking talk to my sister ever again. And if you do, I'll tell everyone how big of a fucking creep you are. I mean, you could say that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I might use it.
That would be the only reason to talk to him. Other than that, you know.
Yeah, that's a good line to throw out there if I need it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sorry you had to go through this and experience this, but I'm glad you're doing okay.
Yeah. You got to live and you learn.
Yeah, you do. All right. Well, take care.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye. How's it going?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Good. What's your name?
My name is Bryce, and I am 22 years old.
How can I help, Bryce?
Now, talk about moving in with my girlfriend.
Okay.
And we've been together for 6 months.
Okay.
And things are progressing
quickly.
Quickly. Yes, very quickly.
Okay.
We've been spending a lot of time together, staying with her a lot because it's near my school where I go to college.
Uh-huh.
And it seems to work out. Her lease is up. She wants to get a new apartment. and she has asked me to move in. And now one of those factors moving in is to have my dad's, kind of blessing or saying that it is okay to move in. And we were able to have a conversation with him, and surprisingly, he was okay with it.
Okay.
And now one of the things is, am I ready? And a little bit of me, like knowing myself, I am ready. Like I'm excited for it. I'm the youngest of my family, so I get to finally, head out. And now one of the biggest questions is, okay, if I leave, I don't want to come back. But
what do you mean? If you leave, you want to come back?
If I leave my house now and, something that doesn't work out living with her.
And do you live with your parents or do you live by yourself?
I live with just my dad and my brother.
Gotcha.
And we're all close. Am I ready? Is it too soon? I think the relationship progress with my girlfriend and I is going great.
Uh-huh.
It's going great. And I just, I don't know.
I don't mean to laugh.
I don't know.
It's really quite, you're really quite charming, but you're probably not ready. It's probably too fast. Should you move in? I'm not here to say. I'm a firm believer that, especially in this day and age where moving in has like weirdly become something couples do like pretty fucking fast. And like the first year, it's like, we dated for like 6 or 12 months. Like, what's next? We can't get married because that's nuts, but let's live together. It's like this next weird step we do. And then we'll be like, well, we spent all our time together. And it's like, it would just, I don't think people should move in to save money. I don't think people should move in based off of convenience, things like that. If you decide to move in, I think it's healthy that you're realistic. And it sounds like you are. Like, I don't know. What if it doesn't work out? Your concerns are all like about your pride and your ego. And I'm going to tell you this right now, you're a young 22-year-old man. Things aren't going to go the way you plan. I mean, get used to it. And so whether it's you move in with your girlfriend, you guys break up in a year, you move back home with mom and dad and brother, they give you some shit or whatever, that shit's gonna happen, man. Like it might not. I'm not saying you're gonna break up, but like some version of I never thought this would happen to me is going to happen to you time over time over time. And that humility, it ends up being a great thing, and that's where you get perspective. And then at some point, you'll stop saying things to yourself like, this isn't going to happen to me, because it is. Like, and so if you decide to move with her, I think that concern of what if we break up, what's going to happen if you break up? You'll break up. You'll figure it out. You'll be heartbroken, you'll be sad, or you'll be relieved. I don't know. And you'll have some inconveniences of moving back in or getting a different place. And again, who knows when if you were to break up, could be 2 years from now. And at that point, you don't want to move back in with dad or brother. You just get your own place, or maybe you make some friends, you get some roommates. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And one of the big things too is like, you won't know until you try.
There is that, but why do you want to move in with her?
I think it'd be a great opportunity to learn how to balance financially and really just kind of understand living together. And, we're kind of doing it now, but the thing is, I won't have that escape route. Oh, I just want to go home and I'll get to stay there for the weekend. I won't have that. If I live with her, I won't have that, escape route or whatever if something would happen.
Sure. You've been dating for 6 months. Like, are you trying to get married tomorrow?
No.
When are you trying to get married? If you're in a planning world.
In a planning world, I have 1.5 years of school left. I will be a teacher, and I plan on getting married about 3 to 4 years.
Okay. Nice plan. I had a similar plan. Yeah. I mean, I just don't think you should do a lot of that type of planning. And and this is just my advice, man. Like, what the fuck do I know? But and maybe I'm projecting my own life onto you. But I think in this day and age, I think it's good to keep your options open. And that doesn't mean not have girlfriends. And I think, if you really like this girl and you love her, go for it, man.
Yeah.
Like make it
Right.
work. Like see if there's something there. But just because you met at 22 doesn't mean like you have to like escalate it. You know, it doesn't mean, you know, maybe I would allow the space to say there's nothing. I think it's a scary thing to say. And I think some people take it as unromantic to say to themselves and to their partners and to each other, let's see how it goes.
Right.
I really like you. Today, I love you and you love me. And if you listen to the show, I talk about like waking up every day and choosing your partner.
Absolutely.
And I believe in that. And you guys decided to move in 6 months doesn't mean you're more in love than a couple who sees each other 3 times a week. If you guys get married in a year and a half, it doesn't mean you're more in love than the couple who's like trying to make long distance work. You know, like it just doesn't mean anything. It's everyone's individual relationship choices are their own. And I think, I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I like to attach meaning to my choices in the relationship as it relates to how much we cared for each other. And I think a lot of young people do that because we want to feel like our love means something. It's special. We want our love to be special. And of course, it is, but it's just, you have to be patient with attaching a value to what your love means, because every day is a new day to decide how special that love is and how special do you want to make it.
Right. I totally agree on that. And I think part of me is kind of like, you know, I don't like it, but it's life, is the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know the answer to this all the time, and that's okay. And, you know, just roll with it. Like you said, just wake up and roll with it and see what happens. And I think I'm kind of leaning toward that way. I'll just, you know, I think that is what I'm leaning toward. Now, is it crazy?
Yeah.
It probably is crazy, but, you know.
Who do you think wants it more?
She does.
Okay.
I think she does.
I think people should want it the same amount. And let me ask you this. Do you feel comfortable saying, babe, can I be honest with you? The idea of living with you seems great. And honestly, best thing I've had in my life so far. Really like where it's going. I don't know if I'm ready. I just think it's going a little fast. Do you feel comfortable saying that to her?
I do feel comfortable saying that.
Okay.
I do. But again, you know, I don't know why I'm like this, but I won't know until I try it. Like, I don't know.
Sure. Well, I mean, if you're an exhibitionist, then go nuts, you know, like,
yeah.
And listen,
you know, like,
we all try to experience things different ways. And that's kind of my point. Like, you're right. Like, if you move in with her, nothing like bad's going to happen. Like
right.
The worst thing that could happen, you realize like, oh, that was nuts. And
yeah,
what, just to, if you move into each other, you have a lot more to learn about each other than you know about each other right now. Whatever you feel like you know about each other, or if it feels like you know each other forever, there's a lot more you don't know about each other than know. And as soon as you move in with each other, that is going to be, you're going to go into like hyperdrive in terms of how much you learn about each other. For all you know, it could go absolutely wonderful. How much do you, like in terms of the time you spend with each other, are you comfortable doing things on your own?
Yes. Yep. And there's always time where like, hey, I need to go do this on my own. I need to, you know, I like to run, so I get out and run a lot. I go to my practice because I'm a coach and I like doing all those things, and she supports me with those things. And we always spend time either like watching a movie and then doing our own thing, you know, homework. You know, we're trying to learn that as we go. And I think one of the things that I'm leaning toward moving in is because of that. She's understanding on, okay, I need to do homework, so you need to leave me alone. So doing those things is kind of helping that out to get me, you know, to understand I'm ready to move in with her.
Okay. Have 2 TVs.
Yes. You know, sports, I got to watch them all, man.
You know, watch your own shows. Are you planning on like combining finances?
Not yet. We're just going to split the the rent, and then groceries and stuff. We talk about that.
I mean, you're calling it as for my advice, so I'm just going to give it. My financial advice would be, you guys are roommates as well as partners, and until you're married. This like playing house bullshit, and like, let's just like combine finances, because like we live together. Like, no, that's for married couples. And if you want to get married, propose. But like until then, like,
you're my roommate.
Well, you are roommates and a couple, and married people are just married people. So I think it's important that I think you should be able to have that conversation with her. Any conversation you think you might need to have with her, you need to have with her before you move in with her. Upfront expectations. How are you going to handle finances? And things will change, but you should at least have a conversation about like how things might change. And this will be certainly a crash course, and your guys' ability to have conversations about things you didn't expect to have, and getting annoyed with each other. Have you guys been annoyed with each other yet?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, that's good.
That's normal. That's normal stuff.
Yeah, I mean, in 6 months, man, a lot of people are just like, I don't know, they're fucking great. I don't think anything's wrong with them. And I'm like, okay. So I guess good that she annoys you. And I mean that in a really positive. But yeah, I mean, listen, it sounds like you just got to be realistic, man, is I guess my overall advice. Like, don't play house any more than you already are, in the sense that you guys are living together. You're both roommates and a couple. And so separate finances. Like, don't buy things together. Like, don't buy a couch together. You buy the couch, I'll buy the kitchen table, whatever.
Right. And we actually did discuss that in that way instead of going half on it. Right.
And I think it's okay to still acknowledge that we've been only dating for 6 months, and we don't know. We might want each other to be our forever person, but we don't know if each other is. We're just deciding to do this kind of like thing and fast forwarding because like, whatever, this is what we want. And is it the smartest idea? I don't know, but we want it, and so be it. We're going to do it. And that, fine. If you're realistic, go nuts. And if you guys break up, like, whatever, you move back in with dad. Like, who cares?
And another thing too that kind of factors in is her family. And now I'm very family oriented, but I'm not totally warmed up to her family yet. And I don't know what that is. I never had that before. I never had that. I usually warm up to families right away. And her family is just a little.
What don't you like about them?
Just kind of the terminology they use. I mean, I don't know if it's just because they're always open and like kind of no filter things. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, you really just said that while I'm here, and I don't know if it's because of that or something I'm used to, like conversations with my family, and I don't see it both ways.
Yeah. I mean, that's just part of getting to know. That's part of dating someone.
Right.
You don't have to like them. Just have to have a mutual respect, and it just depends on how. I mean, I wouldn't ignore how close is she with her family.
She's close, but she's not that close like how I am with my family. Okay. And I think she had a rough past. That's why she moved out at a young age, and maybe that's why I'm not warming up to them right away, because I know she's had a rough past. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you don't have to love them or, like them. You just have to respect them and have them respect you. And that is part of dating someone, not necessarily, be in love with the in-laws, so to speak. But I don't know if that necessarily, especially it doesn't sound like they're that involved in her life in terms of like her own choices.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're not.
Family is only a major concern when it's like, I mean, quite honestly, when the relationship you have with your dad, you wanted to get his blessing, right? That mattered to you. And that can impact a relationship because like, let's say you're like, oh, I want to move with my girlfriend. Like, I'm desperate to do it. And she's like, me too. And then all of a sudden, yeah, but I got to talk to dad. And dad's like, no, like that could impact the relationship. But if they're not really impacting her choices and they're just like there and she's like, yeah, these are my parents. I love them and we have a relationship, but like, I don't need to see them all that much. Then
Right.
I don't think you got to worry about it too much.
And, is that bad if we do more with my family than her family? Like, should it be
depends
together,
on what does she think? I mean, I've dated women who are like, I love your family and I got a relatively like close and my parents are great and they're nice to be around. And some of the people I dated weren't particularly close with their family. And so they kind of bonded with mine. Yeah.
She loves my family.
Yeah.
And we would do dinner every Sunday,
Everyone's choices are different, man. I think as far as your relationship goes, how you guys communicate and work through differences and how much time you guys spend with each other and your kind of love languages and things like that, and how you guys respect the free time you both need to be independent. All those things matter way more than like, I need to like love my parents and like my parents, You just need to respect each other's families and, it's not a competition. Like, don't make her feel like her family's like, oh, my family's better than your family because we like hang out with my family. Just like, don't make it about that, and it won't be about that. Be honest with yourself and don't wait to have conversations with your girlfriend.
Right. And it's hard for me to open up as like, she's an open book, it's just, sometimes it's hard for me to open up. That's why I try to look at it both ways.
Well, just be careful that it's not hard for you to open up because you're afraid of her answer.
Right. Yeah.
Because she sounds like, she's been on her own for a while. She's independent. She's an open book. And it sounds like, you're like, oh, her family kind of like says some crazy shit, like, well, just remember the apple doesn't too far from the tree. So she's a big personality. She's probably, she wants this. And like, just make sure that you don't lose yourself in this. Make sure you're not the one who's constantly compromising.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree on that.
All right, man. Well, best of luck.
Thanks, man.
Sounds like you're going to do this and we'll see,
Yeah. Yeah. We'll definitely see. We'll definitely have to catch up.
All right, man. All right. Let us know. All right,
man.
Take care, buddy. All right. Thank you for calling.
You too.
All right.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
How's it going?
Hi, my name's Macy. I am 26 years old.
Hi, Macy. How can I help?
So basically, I've been seeing this guy for about 3 months. We met on a dating app. After about a month, we had a conversation where he just moved into town and he said he didn't want to be in a relationship. And I was like, chill. We've only been seeing each other for 1 month. I don't even know you. You're an internet stranger. So let's continue to hang out and see where it goes and reassess, which I thought was a good conversation. And then he moves and he basically just not ghosts me because I would text him and he would give me short responses back. And then that made me feel not great because he wasn't asking like, how are you? Even though I asked him, hey, how was your move? What's going on? And it was 3 weeks went by and I hadn't seen him.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally I was just like, hey, that's not okay. I know we're not dating, but I want people in my life I want to feel cared about. So then he kind of blows back like, well, I didn't want a relationship, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't want one either yet because I don't know you. So we're sort of at the standstill where he apologized and things are back to normal. But I just don't know what to do because every time I try to explain expectations, he throws that, but I don't want a relationship. So yeah. I just don't know what to do.
Well, why are you investing in this guy?
I think, well, when we are together, like I typically get very anxious in relationships. And I think at the beginning, he did make me feel very secure of that we could both be independent people, but then rely on one another. And he's really awesome to hang out with. But now I'm starting to get that anxious feeling again. So, yeah.
Well, could you be more specific about like what it is he said or made you feel about? Because it's like you're not dating. He has since moved.
Well, he just moved apartments in the same city.
Okay, so you're still in the same city. Okay.
Yeah.
He just like moved. Okay, just got a new place.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
And so I gave him time to do that, and I'm not being texting every day. It was literally like a week went by after he moved, and I was like, "Hey, how are you?" And then he goes, "I'm doing great. The move went well," and there was no like,
how are you the past week? Or like, what's going on with you? And it's not that I care about people without the expectation of them caring about me back. That's who I am. But it did kind of red flag went up
Do
where I was
you
like,
care
oh,
about them?
I think I do to an extent. Yeah. Like,
well,
I think
to what extent?
I think to the extent of that, I want to know more.
Okay.
I think I take a long
You're
time
interested
to like,
in them.
yeah, exactly.
No, I don't, yeah. I mean, not to mince words, but I think that's a more accurate way to describe how you feel is that you're interested in them.
Yeah.
Really care about someone, like sounds like you care for them.
Yeah, that's true.
When
yeah, so
you,
maybe it's not.
And I'm curious, when you say I care for them, what does that mean to you?
I think to me, it's like, oh, I'm concerned about like what's going on in your life. I want to see you more. If you
concerned sounds or interested.
I think I genuinely care that his move went well, and I wanted it to go.
Sure,
well.
really, you're a nice person. Yeah, I get it.
I guess.
I just you're invested in this guy. It sounds like you're calling and you want to know how to handle it. But I'm not. I'm trying to understand why you're so invested. It makes sense why you're interested in learning more. That's fair. But and what you described early on as you met him, and like how many dates did you go on that you had a nice time that you didn't feel anxious or notice some of these red flags?
It was like 6 or 7 dates. So I guess that's pretty big for me because I don't typically.
So
yeah.
And those 6 or 7 dates were all like pretty great.
Yeah, they're really good. There was no hiccups. We have a great rapport, and yeah, we have a lot of fun
And during
together.
those 6 or 7 dates, part of the conversation of like, I don't want a relationship came up.
Yeah, it was after like date 5 or 6, he was sort of like, yeah, I can see where this is going. And he had just moved to this city.
So you went on 6 or 7 dates before this conversation came up.
Yes.
Okay. And so when he tried to define this not relationship, he mentioned he didn't want a relationship.
Yeah. And I kind of countered with, well, do you just not, because he gave me his reasons, which makes a lot of sense. He just moved here. He doesn't have like a home base. He's still like moved in a transitional living situation at that time. And I said, no worries. And he was just afraid of losing his independence. And so I'm like the person where I only want to hang out with you once a week anyways. Because I have a lot of my own stuff going on. And so I was like, that's fine. I don't want a relationship with you yet either because I don't know you. And I think maybe the question I should have asked was, do you not want a relationship or do you not want a relationship with me? But I don't know if those are 2 different questions or they're the same.
Well, I think maybe, yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't beat yourself up about not asking those questions because I don't know if he knows the answer to either of those questions. But what you could have asked is, what does not a relationship mean to you? Like for the people, and this is very relatable, this happens a lot, someone in this situationship that you're in will be like, no, I don't really want a relationship. And whatever the reason is, they'll, I just moved, I want my freedom, et cetera, et cetera. And then, oh, I don't want one either. And then that either stops, but they want to keep hanging out on some level. He's responding to you. He's open to seeing you again. And so I would be curious if I were you, what does that mean? Like, what is not being in a relationship, but still hanging out mean to you? Like, what would be fair expectations to have of one another? Or do you just want the total freedom to come and go in and out of each other's lives with zero expectations? And he has the right to say yes. And then at least you have the truth there. And then you can decide, do I want to keep investing in someone who just told me he wants absolutely no expectations. He wants to be able to hang out with me on a Tuesday, not reach out to me for a week, and then hang out and say, what are you doing? And then you don't get to be like, where you been?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I don't think that's something I could do.
Yeah. And it seems like that's something he's interested in doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to get him to admit that.
Yeah. And I think whenever we do have those conversations, he just kind of just shuts down, is like, well, I don't know. And so it's hard for me to find answers.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's tough. It's tough in the moment to think of like, oh, the perfect question you should have asked him.
Yeah.
But like part of it is because you're sometimes afraid to hear the truth. There's a little bit of that. But when someone says what they don't want or what they want, you need to figure out what that means. Because it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. You saying, "Oh, well, I don't want a relationship either," like is just is kind of your ego being like, "Well, me too." Like, I don't like. I'm not chasing you, man, but like you do. It sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you are interested in finding someone to be in a relationship with. If you get to know them and like what you learn about them. You saying, well, I don't want to be in a relationship with you yet either, there's the yet is the operative word, and because you're hopeful that you will continue to like what you get to know. You've liked the first 6 or 7 dates, and then he popped you with this, this, hey, I don't want a relationship. And you're like, well, I don't want a relationship with you either, because like I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with someone I've only been on 6 and 7 dates with, and I have more to learn about you. And that's not what he was saying. It sounds like he was like, I just moved here. I don't want a relationship with anyone. And maybe it could be, I don't want a relationship with you, but he's probably not going to say that. And he also I also believe that someone in his position might simply just say, oh, I don't like, this is happening too fast. You seem nice, but like, new city, new people. Like, I want to meet a lot of chicks. I want some flexibility. I want to be adventurous. I want to, and a lot of people will say, well, I'm cool. I'm fun. We can be adventurous together. and maybe you are, and maybe you can, but relationships do take commitment and sacrifice, and you don't have as much freedom in a relationship you have out of it, and maybe he is prioritizing his freedom and independence.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess it's just how to initiate that conversation, which I think you've laid out.
I feel like you kind of had it already, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. But I think that's where it just feels like we're at a standstill, and that if we have another conversation, it's just going to be talking in circles.
Here's what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
I would wait for him to reach out to you.
Yeah, but what if he doesn't?
then you have your answer.
Oh, but I hate the fizzle. That's like the worst way to go.
It's not a fizzle. Yeah, but I don't think this situation requires some sort of dramatic conversation or breakup.
Yeah.
You've gotten yourself in a bit of a situationship. There's a bit of a power dynamic struggle. You're trying to find, and while you don't like this because it makes you feel confused or unsettled, and I get that, but reaching out to him and forcing a conversation he doesn't either A, want to have, or B, feels like he's already had it, is not going to get you what you want. Not reaching out to him, going about your world does not revolve around this guy, correct?
Right, yeah.
You have plenty of things going on. You got friends, you got a job, whatever, you have other interests. So remember that, because when I say don't let him call you, you're like, oh, I kind of can't do that. Because in your head, you're going to be like, that's all I'm going to be thinking about. Well, don't think about it. And when I know like sometimes it's easier said than done, but you can just be like, hey, no, stop it. Like, yeah, I'm bummed. I don't know. But also, I'm assuming in your list of qualities you want in someone you just met, excitement to hang out with you would be up there in terms of things you want. And so right now, he's not excited to talk to me. So that is your answer. So stop chasing a call. And when so let's assume you can do this. You don't reach out. And then
let's assume willpower.
Let's assume. And then he reaches out. And he's like, hey, what's up? I haven't heard from you. I'm like, oh, I've just been busy or whatever. And then he's like, well, do you want to hang out? And you say, listen, I really enjoy you. I've really enjoyed liking to get to know you. But, you know, you mentioned you don't want a relationship. And while I'm not ready to be in a relationship with you, I do want a relationship and you don't seem like you're in a position to want to make anyone a priority. And that is okay. And I want to feel like someone I'm dating wants to make me, at least on some level, feel like a priority. And, you know, and again, that's totally okay. And then let him see, like, you know, and we've talked about this a lot on different, you know, callers, but you just saying what you're observing of him and stating what you want is going to go a lot further than asking him a bunch of questions he doesn't have answers to or doesn't know how to say it honestly. So you just say it for him. Because he's told you this. This is, you know, like all you are is just like articulating to him back what he's already said to you. And also showed with his actions. In a sense that he's like, you know, when I say let him call you, you have a real fear of him not calling. And then the second real fear is him not calling for 5 days. And then picking up and be like, hey, what's up? You want to go to a movie? And you're just like, I've been wanting you to call every day for the past 5 days. What the fuck? And that is not something you should be feeling in an early dating situation.
Yeah. Yeah, because I do feel like it is me not wanting to give up power and space for him when he does make me feel anxious. So.
Yeah, but dumping it on him isn't going to help.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you call? Like, blah, 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 you know, you've had the conversation. Having another conversation isn't going to help.
You're right.
He's made it pretty clear. I wouldn't even call it fizzle. Like, you don't call it fizzle.
Yeah.
Fizzle implies that you are going to be waiting around and like hoping he calls, and like he's not, like we both know he's not calling anytime soon. And we both know he's not going to reach out to you as quickly as you hope he does, right? Because you'd like him to call you right now and be like, hey, do you want to go to a movie tonight? And that should tell you something, right?
Yeah.
So accept that that's not going to happen. And you can be disappointed about it, you know?
Yeah.
And then choose to want someone who wants to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, it is like a pattern in my relationships where I have like avoidant people who are like, no, I don't. And I'm just not sure like how to find someone.
Well, I wouldn't call him avoidant. And again, I'm not necessarily an expert in attachment styles, but he's just a guy who has other priorities in his life right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he went on 6 dates, and as soon as it came up, sounds like he was actually pretty clear about what he didn't want. I wouldn't give him like a gold star or say he should be running seminars in communication, but like he gave you enough of information to kind of like, if you wanted to hear his truth, he was telling you his truth. And that is, he doesn't want to make anyone but himself a priority, especially when it comes to dating. And he is hoping people, including you, are willing to hang out with him at his convenience whenever he wants, and won't make him feel guilty for doing other things whenever he wants. That's what he wants right now.
Yeah. Dang. Okay. Yeah, that's it. I don't know. That's a bummer though, but yeah.
And the one thing that might make him change his mind is to show him with your actions that you aren't waiting around with him, that you won't be okay with only hanging out with him at his convenience. That when he does call once every 3 or 4 days, you most likely have other shit to do. And even if you don't, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I did do that, and I don't think it worked because
There
I
you go.
have been like going.
Well, you
Yeah,
have
I've
to.
been
You
going-
have to be willing to accept. Like that. There's this. When you make whatever your list is of qualities you're looking for someone, a guy. This guy is not. I don't know what your list is, but I guarantee you, what he is showing you isn't on his list, and yet you keep saying I keep like attracting like these avoidant men. No, you keep chasing guys who show you that they aren't willing to make you a priority.
Yeah.
And you calling it, I keep going after like guys with like an attachment style. Like it's like that's just like it's a real nice way of saying you like chasing people who aren't willing to make you a priority. And that's your choice. And that's not a problem with them. That's a problem with you.
Yeah.
I think this guy just needs to just go around and meet new people and fuck around, and he's just not ready to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
And if you are, you have to respect yourself enough to not go after people who say they're not.
I feel good about that.
Yeah. They often tell you. You just have to listen.
Oh, okay.
All right. You're going to be okay. I'm certain of it.
Cool.
All right.
Well, thank you.
All right. Best of luck. Thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to send your questions to asknick@castmedia.com. Cast with a K for your Ask Nick questions. Subscribe, tell your friends, rate 5 stars, all that fun stuff. See you back tomorrow. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos like our Tuesday Bachelor recaps and Wednesday celebrity and expert interviews. See you next time.